Okay, so here's our problem. There are 50 students in the 5th grade at Taos Elementary School. One day, 20% of them were absent. Use a mathematical model to determine how many 5th graders were in school that day. So a few things to notice. We're using a whole number of students to make things simpler as we start off. We're using a percentage that's easily converted to a fraction. I'll call it a benchmark percentage. And the other thing to note is that the question asks how many students were in school that day. Well, the information that's given is the number of students that were absent. So there's kind of a hidden operation that the students need to understand and identify. We'll begin with an area model by representing the whole class as a circle. This represents 50 students, or 100% of the class. You'll notice that we've written the words here, 50 students and 100% of the class, to help the students stay in touch with the meanings of these different numbers. So the next step is to look at, well, what's 20% of the class, because those were the ones who were absent. And so 20% of the class is what we're after. And the students' understanding of percent at this point, hopefully they'll be able to know that this is 20% is 20 out of 100, or per 100, which as a fraction is written this way and can be converted to 1/5 of the class. So now we know the fraction of the class. We can represent that graphically by shading in 1/5 out of the pi. The question is, how many students does this represent? And hopefully students understand that 1/5 of 50 students is 10 students. How they get to this will depend on the level of the student. It may be obvious, or they can take the 50 students, break them into groups, even groups of 5 groups of an even number each, and they'll find that that answer is 10 students. So now we know that 10 students are the ones who are absent. Often students will stop at this point, but it's important to remind them about the question. The question is how many 5th graders were in school, and so they need to do the next step, which is to recognize that the students who are in school are the whole amount, 50 minus 10, and so 50 minus the 10 students who are absent leaves us 40 students who are present.